Welcome to the Physical TV's presentation of the 2001 Mr. Olympia weekend on Fox Sports Net here at the beautiful Mandalay Bay Resort in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Sean Ray, 13-time Mr. Olympia competitor. Mr. Olympia is the ultimate title for the ultimate bodybuilder. Of the thousands of athletes working their way up the ranks in bodybuilding each year, very few make it this far. This year, 21 international champions vie for the Mr. Olympia title and the grand prize of over $350,000. We're talking high-stakes competition here. Remember, bodybuilding is more than just hard work and gritty determination. Bodybuilding is a science with a strict regime of diet, nutrition, supplementation, and exercise. It's about body size, symmetry, and muscle definition, but it's also about choreography and downright showmanship. Cheered on by a crowd of 7,000 excited fans, these guys will perform. It's the biggest bodybuilding event in the world, and I can assure you the audience will get their money's worth. When these titans enter center stage here at the Mandalay Bay, it's because they stuck with it for years. These guys are tough. They're the best in the world. Physical TV will be back with more information about the fascinating world of bodybuilding on Fox Sports Net.
Hello, this is Dorian Yates. We're both passionate about developing our own range and making it second to none and giving people real results for their money. During my career, I realised the importance of a high protein intake, and I found that was impossible to achieve through solid foods. So supplementation with protein powders and meal replacers played a really big part in my overall diet. Developing the most efficient protein products became our #1 priority.
Purchase Dorian Yates approved products at your local nutrition retailer or online at propeptide.com.
Welcome back to Physical TV's presentation of Mr. Olympia 2001 on Fox Sports Net. Let's look at a few basic concepts about how these athletes are judged. There are 4 rounds in this competition, each focusing on specific aspects of the athlete's physique. In round 1, the judges look at the overall symmetry of the body. While the athletes make various quarter turns on stage, this is called the symmetry round. In round 2, it's the muscularity round. Here, each competitor goes through the mandatory routine of 7 poses. There is no room for individual style in this round. Round 3 consists of the individual posing routine. This is where the athletes can design their own routine to their own music. We often see a lot of showmanship in this routine round. And finally, round 4. This is the pose down. This is where the top 6 athletes come together so the judges can take one final look at their comparisons together. Here's the current standings coming out of the first 2 rounds of competition. Of course, just like in golf, the lower the score, the better. While 3-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman has firmly earned his place in the annals of Olympia champions, he is up against a fierce competition this year. Jay Cutler has kept a low profile until now, but to everyone's surprise, he's ahead of Ronnie Coleman in the preliminary rounds. And our first competitor of the evening in the Mandalay Bay, a record crowd of over 7,000 people, and the 3-time defending world champion, Ronnie Coleman.
Every year, I try to do something different because I don't want to be the same year after year after year. Last year, I was big and not as cut and defined. This year, I'm probably going to be big and I'll be a whole lot more defined. And my symmetry is a whole lot better because I was able to shave 3 inches off my waist.
Weighing in at 264 pounds, going for title number 4 in a row. Ronnie Coleman knows right now, at this moment in the competition, he is trailing by 6 points to Jay Cutler. I might add that no Mr. Olympia has ever trailed by 6 points going into the evening show. So Ronnie finds himself in the unfamiliar position of playing catch-up while trying to defend his title. But it is possible to make up the deficit. He's got to win this round with perfect scores, and the following round, which is the pose down, to outmuscle Jay Cutler for the title. It's a 2-man show at this point, and Ronnie Coleman knows how sweet it is to be Mr. Olympia, so he's going to give it his all. But he's getting ready to show us his absolute best body part, and that is the width of his back lat spread. They call him a 747, he's so wide. But knowing that he's trailing, he's got to pull off something special. which is part of his posing attire, to reveal his red, white, and blue posing trunks. Ever the showman, Ronnie Coleman.
Keep it going for him, folks. Ronnie Coleman.
Coming up next, the former Mr. USA champion, the man with the biggest calves in the business and arms to match, Mike Matarazzo. 11-year Weider-sponsored athlete, appeared on many covers of Flex magazine. Mike Matarazzo got into the gym business and decided to own a Gold's Gym, came out from the East Coast to the West Coast to train with the biggest and the baddest, and here he is, competing in the Mr. Olympia competition. Never one of the guys to make the top 10 of the Mr. Olympia, but Mike's a fighter. Qualified by getting 5th place at 2000 Night of Champions in New York City, and he's here again tonight to represent. Mike, one of the few guys out there that acknowledges his #1 supporter as his father, his motivator and inspiration for pursuing bodybuilding, Mike Matarazzo. Got the dubious distinction of one of the guys with the longest tongues in bodybuilding, and he's not afraid to show it. Mike having fun with the audience. Next up from Thailand, Dennis James, who upset Chris Cormier earlier this year in Hungary. Definitely a threat to be reckoned with. Dennis James in 2000 did not make the top 10 of this Mr. Olympia competition. Came back, placed 3rd in the Pro Ironman contest, went on to beat Chris Cormier in Hungary. Traded places with Chris down in Australia, is here tonight trying to get up in that top 10. He's one of the few bodybuilders that posts pictures of himself while preparing for competition on his website, DennisJames.com, to show his fans out there his progress leading up to the show, and he's definitely impressive here tonight. And out of Venice Beach, California, Craig Titus. One of the more controversial athletes, again, along with King Kamali.
The package that I'm trying to present is something total with no weak points, because I'm not a 300-pound bodybuilder, and I probably never will be. I don't think I want to be that kind of a bodybuilder. I'll be about 235 pounds. I just want to be very complete, very polished, and very entertaining for the crowd.
One of the more outspoken athletes. Craig Titus is about to realize his dream. The only thing he ever wanted in bodybuilding since he won the USA in 1995 in Long Beach was to get to this stage here tonight. Craig's main objective for this year's contest was to get his waistline down to where it was when he turned pro, and he's done that. Showing love to the crowd, his first time up at the Mr. Olympia, with the help of Dorian Yates, Craig Titus. Now moving out to Las Vegas and wants to show them some love. We're going to take a look at what it takes to make it in world-class bodybuilding. Many people think it's a real mystery how these men and women develop their incredible physiques. Now, when a bodybuilder gets ready for competition, he generally goes to the gym twice a day. Remember, for the majority of the professional bodybuilders out there, this is a full-time job. So we have to split up our training around our meals. Usually we eat about 6 to 7 meals a day. So generally speaking, a bodybuilder will wake up, do his cardio, eat his breakfast, then go to the gym and train. But in between all of those hours of training, he's spending time preparing and cooking and eating his food. So it is very time-consuming, and this takes place over a period of approximately 14 weeks on the average for most of the professional bodybuilders.
I want pizza. I want pizza because saturated fat is one thing that we cannot have while we're preparing for the show. We get away with sweets, we get away with sugars, we get away with pastries, but we do not get away with saturated fats. So when you have saturated fats after this competition, it's like sheer ecstasy.
You know, if you're not training 100%, you're not at 100%, you cannot hope to be at this level.
Basically, it's just time. I mean, I've been training for 9 years consistently, and I continue to prove every year, and you've got to eat, sleep, and train, live bodybuilding to be able to produce and be at this level.
And getting ready to rumble, possibly the man with the best shoulders and traps and triceps in the business, last year's first runner-up, Kevin Levrone.
I like entertaining. I really enjoy being on stage, and it's just such a rush out there when you hear the fans, you know, cheering for you, and they just applaud little things that you do. That's what it's really. You don't want that moment to come to an end.
Three-time Arnold Classic champion, the Maryland Muscle Machine, definitely one of the guys fighting for the title here tonight. He's been second in this competition 2 years in a row. Could be a little tanner to make himself look a little bit harder, but Kevin's notorious traps, shoulders, and triceps are definitely carrying him here tonight. Kevin's also an established musician. He's got a band called Full Blown, named after his bodybuilding training video as well. Just came out with a first CD called Infidelis, available in the record stores. Kevin Levrone is one of those guys that gives back to bodybuilding. He promotes bodybuilding contests in Maryland. As well, he's got a very good relationship with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, helping out the kids. Kevin's also a Weider-sponsored nutrition athlete. Appeared on many covers of Flex magazine. For the Mr. Olympia, there he is, Joe Weider, the Master Blaster himself, along with his beautiful wife, Betty. Kevin and I shared a room backstage. He said he was about 7 pounds lighter, didn't train his thighs as hard or as heavy due to a back injury, and it shows. His thighs are a little bit down from his trademark thickness that he usually carries, but his upper body is in very good condition, and that will help him carry the contest here tonight. Out of Bethesda, Maryland, Kevin Levrone, the Maryland Muscle Machine. Physical TV will be back on Fox Sports Net after this. And here comes the biggest man in the contest tonight, 285 284-pound, the German giant, Marcus Rühl.
The motivation is to be the best bodybuilder in the world, and I know in the moment I can't be the best because Ronnie is unbeatable, but my goal is to make a good place in the final, to make the top 6, and that's my goal. And I hope for the next 3, 4, 5 years, maybe I can beat Ronnie. Maybe we'll see. I never give up.
You can feel the earth move when he walks. About 5'11". A year ago was 9th place in this competition. The judges actually told him he wasn't big enough. And I don't know what they were looking at, but he is the biggest man here tonight. Marcus says he gets up to 325 pounds in the off-season. And here he is, dialed in at 284 pounds here tonight. Wide, thick, big. If I'm gonna give him any criticism, his triceps need to be a little bit bigger to match his biceps. It's hard to pick this guy apart. He's basically the freakiest bodybuilder in the show, and it's just a question of whether or not the judges like the freaky size and mass of a Marcus Rühl or the more complete physique of defending champion Ronnie Coleman. Very soft-spoken gentleman, Marcus Rühl, Toronto Pro Champion. And coming from Venice Beach, 1999's marvelous Melvin Anthony, Mr. USA Champion.
Never listen to anybody that says you can't do it, because I do whatever I want, because it's in the brain. You know what I mean? And I'm very, very determined like that. I hate when people say I can't, because I did it to show you now what. What's next? What else can I do, you know?
A disciple of the John Brown Posing Academy, like myself and Vince Taylor. This is Melvin's first Mr. Olympia as well. Says he was about 230 pounds. He's 5'7". Very slow, artistic posing style, which he likes to spice up with a little bit of showboat. And he's about to wake up this audience right here, right now. Certainly is going to give the crowd their money's worth. Melvin Anthony. And now coming into the stage, our other German giant. This is Gunther's third Mr. Olympia competition.
There was a time I competed just because you compete to win, of course. But also I learned to compete, first of all, to improve all the time, to really, you know, if I improved compared to last year, I have done my job.
Probably one of the few guys you're going to see smiling in this event. Gunther's always one of those affable guys that's very approachable, enjoys his work. Getting right in the face of the crowd. Gunther, not shy at all. Gunther Schlierkamp from Germany. We'll take a moment to go back in time and trace the roots of fitness in bodybuilding. With the arrival of the beach culture in the 1940s, both men and women began to focus on their bodies. The famed Muscle Beach in Santa Monica, California, attracted fitness enthusiasts from all over America and spurred the beginning of bodybuilding as we know it today. Fitness pioneers like Joe Weider worked hard to take bodybuilding from a cult-like following to mainstream, and by the late 1950s, the first modern bodybuilding competitions took place throughout Europe and the United States. Mr. Olympia quickly rose to become the premier bodybuilding competition in the world, and today it has indeed become the battleground for the Titans.
Well, I know a thing or two about this guy. It's me. This is my 13th Mr. Olympia I'm preparing for here, showing a little bit of attitude.
I've got a lot of respect out there from people that follow the sport, and being that I'm 5'7" and 210, competing against guys that are 5'11", 260, 280 pounds, and I'm beating these guys, that says a lot in and of itself. And I love what I do. It's a labor of love. It pays the bills, and I'm very passionate about it, so I stay in the game, and I'm injury-free.
I'm happy with my look. A lot of the judges complain that I don't make the dramatic changes from year to year as some of the bigger competitors, but again, I'm not working with as much volume in order to make the drastic changes. So what I try to do is come in a little harder, muscle mature, concentrate on detail. I would like, ideally, to have the shoulders of a Kevin Levrone and, you know, the calves of a Jay Cutler, but those are things that a bodybuilder is always striving to improve. I find in my travels throughout the world and around the country that there are a lot of bodybuilders that can never be 300 pounds or 250 pounds competing in this show, so I've got a lot of supporters out there. The majority of the bodybuilders actually fall about 5'7", 5'8", 230 pounds and under. It's only at competitions of this magnitude that the really big guys seem to dominate as of late. The last time we had a bodybuilder 5'6" and under win this title was in 1983, Samir Banu. I've seen bodybuilding giants come and go, from Lee Haney to Gary Stridham, Barry DeMay, Rich Gaspari, Dorian Yates. Kind of outlasted all of those guys, and I'm one of the throwbacks competing from the 80s. Trying to hang in with the giants. Ronnie Coleman won the Mr. Olympia title the last 3 years. Why did the judges choose the same guy year after year? This seems to be a pattern in the Mr. Olympia competition. In 37 years of this event, only 10 men have won the title. My personal belief is, if you don't rotate the judges, you're going to wind up with the same results. More about that when Physical TV returns on Fox Sports Net. Welcome back to Physical TV's presentation of the Mr. Olympia 2001, brought to you on Fox Sports Net.
My name is Jim Raquel. I am an IFBB official. I've been an official now for 25 years. I own a bodybuilding and health fitness facility in Rochester, New York.
And were you at the press conference yesterday?
I think the press conference yesterday was very entertaining. The fans loved it.
The first jabs were exchanged by Craig Titus and King Kamali.
Let's see. King Kamali. Don't like him. Not at all. He's a very disrespectful man. He's got a big mouth.
I beat him twice, and I'll beat him again and again and again.
Man, who you trying to fool?
Later, the policies regarding the judging were put out on the table.
The accountability comes from signing the score sheet with your name next to the score. That kills a whole lot of debate between the athletes. It gives us peace of mind after training 5 months on a low-carb diet, doing cardio 2 and 4 hours a day, depriving our friendships, breaking off relationships, and doing our job.
I think some of the things that came out are good. Yeah, I love the idea. Let's bring the judges into the press conference next year. Oh, it's going to be really wild.
1996, I didn't complain when I got 6. 1997, I didn't complain when I got 9th. The moral to the story is, why complain?
And from Virginia, we got King Kamali. One of our more outspoken, controversial athletes that qualified for this year's show by placing 3rd in the Pro Ironman and 4th in the Arnold Classic. Had his wars with Craig Titus, Melvin Anthony and basically everybody in bodybuilding, from Jay Cutler to Dennis James, and including myself. Very outspoken, challenging everyone to an all-out war here tonight at the Mandalay Bay, so he's either got to put up or shut up. Definitely one of the guys in the hunt for the top 10 spot. Kamali is known as a showman in the sport of bodybuilding, but been criticized as of late for lack of bodybuilding poses during his routines. Says he's 7 pounds heavier than Columbus, Ohio. Certainly didn't lose too much in detail, but he's definitely going to have to make up for it in the arm department, calf department, and he's young, 30 years old. He's got room to improve. Controversial King Kamali. And now, the real deal, Chris Cormier, says he's going to challenge for the title here tonight. There's a few guys that have something to say about that, including myself. Chris is about 254 pounds here tonight. Showing us his best Michael Jackson impersonation. The Dennis Rodman of bodybuilding, Chris Cormier enjoys the lifestyle bodybuilding provides, but many believe if he ever hunkers down, gets a little more serious and more focused and disciplined, this guy can win the Mr. Olympia. Unfortunately, it will not happen here tonight. Kevin Levrone, myself, Jay Cutler, and Ronnie Coleman will see to that. 35 years old, Chris Cormier, 254 pounds, from Venice Beach, California. The Terminator, Masters champion 5 times, Vince Taylor.
Right now, at the age of 45, it's overall balance. You know, trying not to supersede my structure. You know, when these guys range from 175 to 300 pounds. You just got to stay within your boundaries. That's what I do. I'm trying to magnify Vince Taylor at 240 pounds.
Injured his calf this year chasing a cat that was doing his business in his yard, but it didn't hold him back from getting here to the Mr. Olympia tonight, and he's showing you that he's at home on the stage at the Mr. Olympia contest. Vince Taylor fighting to the finish. Says he has something to show the young rookies of the sport. One of the best set of calves in the business. Vince Taylor putting it down. Slightly off his best. And now we'll take a look at the scenes behind the scenes, the oiling up, the last-minute application of the tanning. This is where the athletes are putting on their finishing touches before the 7,000 people in the audience get to see them. Working out all the nervous tension, getting that last-minute pump backstage, posing for the magazines. This is where the athletes try to psych each other out a little bit. What you'll find is there's very little conversation. The athletes are very much focused on themselves. Very little camaraderie going on backstage. You have to remember, as a professional athlete at this level, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake. Not only the prize money, but potential sponsorship dollars. So they have to make sure that their color is right, that they don't have too much oil on that might reflect the light, that they're pumped up and ready to go when they stand on stage. This is what we've trained our whole lives for. And it's not like a boxing match. Some of the guys remove themselves from conversation altogether. Some of the other guys try to take their mind off the contest by talking with some of the backstage officials and handlers. But you have to remember, there's photo shoots going on, there are interviews going on, you have to pump up, you have to oil up, and you're being rushed to center stage all at the same time. So there's a lot going on backstage in the business of professional bodybuilding. And there he is, out of Aliso Viejo, Jay Cutler, 254 pounds, finding himself in the unusual predicament of having to knock out the champion, Ronnie Coleman. 1 year ago, Jay Cutler was in 8th place. 1999, he found himself not even making the top 15 of this contest and is now in the inconspicuous position of possibly winning the Mr. Olympia for the first time in his 28 years on the planet Earth. Jay Cutler. Now, it's not impossible for Jay Cutler to win this contest, but he's got to give a posing routine of his lifetime. Jay Cutler's going to play up his strengths, which are certainly, he knows his thighs are cut and shredded. He's got a better midsection than the reigning Mr. Olympia, Ronnie Coleman, and doesn't lack for size. Jay Cutler is only about 5'9", giving up almost 2 inches to Ronnie Coleman. But after today's prejudging, he knows he's on the brink. With all the controversy surrounding most of the competitors, a lot of fighting, a lot of word talking back and forth and challenging and all that, Jay Cutler has stuck to his guns and let his physique do the talking. Very quiet, almost overlooked. Certainly a surprise to most of the bodybuilding experts who, on paper, did not have Jay Cutler in the top 6 prior to tonight's show. Again, Jay moves from center stage off the posing platform right in front of the crowd. Now, oddly enough, I found it very strange that the judges this year would be sitting almost 20 rows back from the posing platform, which is absolutely the best spot to view this competition from. Jay is harder, he is more cut and more separated than Ronnie Coleman, but it's going to be up to those judges that determine the outcome of this contest, whether it's going to be size or whether it'll be definition. We'll find out later. Physical TV will be back on Fox Sports Net after this. The top 10 finalists is what the Mr. Olympia all boils down to. We train all year for this moment in time, and we are now down to 10 of the best bodybuilders on the planet Earth. Not in the city, not in the state, not in the country. These are the top 10 physiques around the world. It boils down to this, and here we go with the announcements.
The 10th place finisher, King Kamali.
And it's King Kamali in his first Mr. Olympia coming in at 10th place, which automatically qualifies him for next year's Mr. Olympia. Happy to be there, trying to quiet down the boos. It's expected that every placement will get booed because everybody has their own legion of fans. But King Kamali being very gentlemanly-like, thanking the crowd, thanking the judges, and taking his 10th place in stride.
The 9th place finisher, Nasser El Sambate.
A big disappointment for Nasser El Sambate out of San Diego, taking his 9th place like a true gentleman that he is, but he's certainly unhappy about his finish here tonight.
Nasser El Sambate, 9th place. And presented to the 8th place finisher, Dexter Jackson.
And coming in at 8th place, Dexter Jackson, the Blade, at 225 pounds. He's got to be happy with that. Qualifies for next year's Mr. Olympia. Can't be nothing but happy by at least maintaining a level of excellence here tonight.
And presented to the 7th place finisher, Dennis James.
And all the way from Thailand, Dennis James moving up into the top 10 spot. Dennis James, a future force to be reckoned with in the top 6 in the Mr. Olympia competition, just barely missing by 1 place.
Will the stage officials please let the music
And with
band
one deep breath, the bodybuilders gather themselves for the pose down. Ronnie Coleman, Mr. Olympia, taking center stage. If nothing else, this is what every athlete lifting weights around the world that competes lives for. It may look a little anticlimactic right now, but pretty soon somebody's going to have to break out of the pack. Ronnie Coleman knows he's trailing by 6 points going into this pose down. Jay Cutler, who's in second, wants to win this contest. He's going to have to fire out of the chute. Most of the guys, all of their energy is spent. Orville Burke trying to get in the middle there. He's never been in this situation, never been on the Olympia stage. Chris isn't going to give. Ronnie's not going to give. These are 265-pound monsters trying to push each other around. The guys that have the advantage here are the veterans. Kevin Levrone is always taking his time at whatever poses he's going to do. Jay Cutler finds himself in a very unfamiliar position, standing next to Ronnie Coleman, trying to go pose for pose. And then again, the stage really isn't big enough for these 6 athletes. Somebody's going to have to make a move and break out of the pack to separate themselves from the masses. An individual pose down with Chris and Jay Cutler taking place. I'm staying put. I'm going to stand right next to Ronnie Coleman and try to go pose to pose. Apples and oranges is what he calls himself and myself, but I got to stand in there and hold my ground. Oh, Ronnie Coleman jumps off the stage and goes into the crowd, and he's followed by Chris Cormier. But it looks like all the athletes are now going down into the audience. This has never happened at a Mr. Olympia contest in its 36-year history. Right now, with Ronnie Coleman out there leading the charge, all the athletes are eventually going to have to go out there and follow him. He's the champ. This is something the fans did not bargain for. They didn't know this was going to happen. Unscripted, certainly appreciative, as Ronnie Coleman actually touches one of the fans in the audience, something that's never been done before. We're in a pose down, and no bodybuilders are on the stage. Kevin Levrone up in the rafters. The athletes are just right on top of him right now, taking pictures and smiling. He's begging for more. Uh-oh, who's that? Shy and reserved. I've never been off the stage in my life, so I guess once Ronnie Coleman and Chris Cormier decided I had to do it, and it actually feels pretty good to be out there close to the fans that fly in from all over the world, from Japan and Germany. How's that? In your face. That was for Chris Cormier. And this is definitely a plus for the sport of bodybuilding, for the fans to get this close to the action. Jay Cutler's actually signaling out fans to direct their cameras towards him. And there's Chris Cormier showing his appreciation. Cameras all over the place. When physical TV comes back, we'll have more on the Clash of the Titans on Fox Sports Net. Back here on Fox Sports Net at Mandalay Bay Resort in Las Vegas, we're getting ready for the final lineup of the 2001 Mr. Olympia competition. This is the moment that the athletes have worked so hard for.
Presented to the 6th place finisher, Orville Burke.
And Orville Burke comes in 6th place after getting 10th place last year. He finds himself in an unfamiliar situation as one of the top 6 bodybuilders in the world. And here's Orville Burke for the first time in 6th place out of New York as one of the premier bodybuilders in the world of bodybuilding.
Presented to the 5th place finisher, Chris Cormier.
And the real deal out of Venice Beach, California, pulls in the 5th place spot and $30,000 being presented to him by Kerry Kays of Dorian Yates Approved Nutrition. And there's Big Paul Dillette, also a fellow professional bodybuilder. Chris Cormier has nothing to be ashamed of. Pro Ironman champion, 2nd in the Arnold Classic. Australian champion Chris Cormier, 5th place, $30,000 richer after a 1-year sabbatical from the Mr. Olympia.
Presented to the 4th place finisher, Sean Ray.
In 4th place, a repeat of last year's Mr. Olympia, me, Sean Ray, $35,000 for the effort, being awarded by Jeff Everson, former editor of Muscle and Fitness. 4th place, and I am definitely happy about that for a repeat performance of last year. And now there can be only 3. Kevin Levrone finds himself in a familiar position. Ronnie Coleman's been there before, and Jay Cutler,
of Universal Supplements,
out of nowhere, comes into the top 3 after placing 8th place 1 year ago and not even in the top 10 2 years ago.
Scott Welsh of Muscle Tech.
And Kevin Levrone in 3rd place, $40,000 richer. Looks pretty happy with his placement here. A lot of noise was made at the press conference, but certainly a happy camper here tonight. The 3rd best bodybuilder on the planet in the year 2001. Kevin Levrone, the Maryland Muscle Machine.
We'll be right back with the winner.
Not everyone is blessed with genetics. That's why there's Thermocore CRT, part of the new Anabolic Drive series by Metrex. This proprietary 8-hour sustained-release formula contains green tea, ephedra, and caffeine. Thermocore CRT can't compete with Mother Nature, but is sure going to make her sweat. Thermocore CRT, engineered to keep on working long after you've finished working out. Thermocore CRT by Metrex. Are you in?
I no longer compete at a high level in strength competition, but I still want a high energy level and I want to be very fit. And Metrex was the key for me. I found that it had all the protein I needed. I've got plenty of energy in my workouts. It helps me with lean muscle mass, and it just shreds the body fat.
Athletes from every corner of the world have discovered Metrex as the nutritional edge they need to be the best. Just imagine what it can do for you. Metrex, engineered to keep on working long after you've finished working out. Metrex, for the best shape of your life.
You can be prepared for any job if you use the right tools. Use a blended protein. The better the blend, the better the protein. ProBlend 55's timed release blend of 6 types of protein lets you get the most out of your protein supplement. ProBlend 55 tastes great, mixes instantly, is aspartame-free, and is available at GNC, Vitamin Shop, Nutrition.com, and health food stores everywhere. So ask for ProBlend 55 and get serious about your workout.
And now we come to the payoff. Ronnie Coleman has to be a little bit nervous, even though he looks confident. And Jay Cutler, hoping that it is his name as the last one standing as the awards are about to be presented. There's $50,000 difference between 1st place and 2nd place. And the moment of truth, Ronnie Coleman, 4-time Mr. Olympia. Jay Cutler, 1st-time runner-up and $60,000 richer. As Ronnie Coleman, known for his trademark dropping to his knees for the 4th consecutive year. Jay Cutler receives the silver medallion, the $60,000 prize money. Jay Cutler, admirable, gallant fight all the way to the finish. For the 4th year in a row, the policeman out of Arlington, Texas, Ronnie Coleman, as Jay Cutler has to wonder what he has to do to upset the champion. And for Physical TV here at Fox Sports Net, I'm Sean Ray. Thanks for joining us.
You've been watching Physical TV's coverage of the 2001 Mr. Olympia from the Mandalay Bay Resort in Las Vegas on Fox Sports Net.